Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I want to talk about something personal, something powerful, the strength of our minds and the worth we often forget we carry. You see, I wasn't born into fame. I was a small town girl with a big accent and bigger dreams, and along the way I had to learn one thing the hard way. You never beg for love, attention, or respect, ever. Why? Because the moment you beg for what should be freely given, you tell the world you're unsure of your value. And trust me, the world is watching. Let me tell you something. You are not a backup plan, a second choice, or someone who needs validation to shine. Your worth does not decrease because someone else failed to see it. I've been underestimated. I've been told to tone it down, to wait my turn, or to fit in. But I've realized that shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's frame is the fastest way to lose who you are. You don't get stronger by asking for crumbs. You get stronger by walking away from the table that doesn't serve you. Love, attention, respect. They're not luxuries, they're human necessities, but they're also not currency you should have to trade your self-respect for. When you become mentally strong, you stop chasing people who are not running toward you. You learn to stand alone, to clap for yourself, and to keep walking even if your knees are shaking. Strength doesn't always look like loud confidence. Sometimes it looks like quiet boundaries. Sometimes it's saying, no, thank you, with a smile. Mental strength is choosing peace over approval, solitude over toxicity, and self-worth over someone else's opinion. I'm not here to tell you that it's easy. I've cried, I've doubted, I've made mistakes, but every time I thought I needed someone else to tell me who I was, the universe reminded me. I already knew. So here's what I want you to take away. Never beg for what should be freely given. That's a powerful truth that many of us only realize after we've spent far too long chasing the bare minimum from people who never truly saw us. We live in a world where being chosen has become some sort of status symbol, where being noticed, validated, or acknowledged by someone else is treated as a win. But here's the reality. If you have to ask, chase, or plead for someone to love you, see you, or respect you, that win isn't really a win at all. When something is genuine, when someone truly values you, you don't need to convince them of your worth. You don't have to perform for it. You don't have to twist yourself into something you're not just to be accepted. Love, attention, and respect that are real flow naturally. They aren't forced, they aren't inconsistent, and they certainly don't come with terms and conditions that compromise your dignity. Begging, in any form, chips away at your self-respect. It silently teaches your mind and your heart that you must hustle for what others receive effortlessly. It plants the idea that maybe you're not enough unless you're proving, pleasing, or pursuing, but you are enough. You always were. The fact that someone else doesn't recognize your light doesn't mean it's not shining. It might just mean they're not capable of seeing clearly. There's a difference between vulnerability and desperation. Vulnerability is beautiful. It's being open, real, and emotionally honest. But desperation is different. It's when we lower our standards out of fear, fear of being alone, fear of not being chosen, fear of not being loved. And that fear tricks us into thinking we need to hold on to anything that resembles affection, even if it costs us our peace. But love, real love, shouldn't feel like a negotiation. Attention shouldn't feel like a reward for staying silent. Respect shouldn't be conditional on your ability to tolerate disrespect. When you stop begging, you start healing. You start reclaiming your power. You start remembering who you are and what you deserve. You begin to choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and self-worth over temporary validation. And yes, it's hard at first. It's painful to walk away from people you once placed on a pedestal. It's lonely to sit with yourself after letting go of someone who never truly valued you, but in that silence you find yourself again. You find strength in the solitude. You realize that your life is not meant to be spent convincing people to treat you right. You are not difficult for wanting consistent love. You are not asking for too much when you want to feel seen, heard, and valued. That is the bare minimum, and the people who genuinely care about you, the ones who deserve a seat at your table, will offer those things freely. Not because you begged, but because they see your worth and choose to meet you with the love and respect you never should have had to ask for. So, let go of the idea that you have to fight for scraps. You are not made for scraps. You are made for wholeness, for deep, meaningful connection, and for a life where love isn't a performance but a partnership. When you believe that deeply, you stop begging and you start attracting everything that's meant for you. Your worth is not defined by others. That's a truth we often forget, especially in a world that constantly tries to measure us by how many likes we get, how many people praise us, or how loudly others cheer when we succeed. But here's the thing. Your value does not increase or decrease based on anyone else's opinion of you. It simply exists. It's built into you. It's not negotiable, and no one else gets to decide what you're worth unless you hand them that power. There will be times when you're misunderstood, when people look at you and only see a fraction of who you truly are. They may not understand your journey, your vision, or your choices, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to see your full story, and not everyone is equipped to value your depth. But that doesn't mean you change the core of who you are to fit into their narrative. The moment you allow someone else's judgment to shape your self-image, you surrender control of your own identity. You start shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You start questioning your own strengths, doubting your voice, hesitating before you act. And soon you forget that you are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to live fully, speak truthfully, and grow freely. People may put labels on you: too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, too independent, but that says more about their limitations than it does about your potential. You are not too much. You are exactly enough for the right people and the right spaces, and the right people will never ask you to be less. You are also not what happened to you. You are not the person someone couldn't love. You are not the job you didn't get. You are not the failures you've experienced or the people who left when it got hard. Those are moments in your story, not definitions of your worth. What defines you is how you rise, how you treat others when no one's watching, and how you treat yourself when no one's applauding. When you root your worth in something deeper, your values, your growth, your inner strength, you become unshakable, because then when someone doubts you, you don't collapse. You don't break apart trying to earn their approval. You remain grounded, you remain centered in your truth, and let's be honest, some people will never see your value because they are too busy wrestling with their own sense of worth. Their inability to recognize your greatness is not a reflection of your lack. It's a mirror of their own insecurity. Stop personalizing the opinions of people who haven't even figured themselves out. You have to know who you are before the world tries to tell you who to be, because when you know your worth, you stop settling. You stop chasing, you stop accepting the bare minimum and calling it love or friendship or respect. You hold yourself to a higher standard, and in doing so, you teach others how to treat you without saying a word. So no, your worth is not found in the eyes of others. It's found in the quiet, strong, unshakable belief that you are enough, exactly as you are, even if no one claps when you walk in the room. And when you carry that belief with you, the world doesn't get to define you. You define yourself. Mental strength means setting boundaries, not the loud, aggressive kind that push people away, but the quiet, firm kind that protect your peace. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges. They're how you teach others how to treat you without resentment or guilt. And if you want to grow, thrive, and live with intention, boundaries are not optional. They are necessary. Too often we confuse being kind or loving with being available 24/7, saying yes to everything, or tolerating disrespect to avoid conflict. But real kindness doesn't require you to abandon yourself. Real love doesn't ask you to make yourself smaller, quieter, or more convenient. When you are mentally strong, you know that protecting your energy is not selfish. It's self-respect in action. There's this idea that strength is about pushing through no matter what, that saying yes to everything and everyone makes you dependable or admirable. But true strength is being able to say no when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing discomfort now to avoid resentment later. It's understanding that if something costs your peace, your sleep, your joy, or your self-respect, the price is too high. Mental strength means recognizing when you've given enough. It's knowing when the conversation is no longer healthy, when the job is draining your spirit, or when a relationship is starting to chip away at your confidence. And it's having the courage to act on that awareness. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It tells the world, I love you, but I also love me, and I won't break myself into pieces just to keep you whole. The truth is, people will push as far as you let them. Not always because they're malicious, but because human nature often tests limits. If you always answer the late night calls, say yes when you mean no, or smile through discomfort, you're silently teaching others that your needs come second, that your silence is permission. But when you start to set boundaries, you disrupt that pattern. You draw a line in the sand, not out of anger, but out of clarity. And yes, it will be hard at first. Some people won't like the new version of you, the one who speaks up, who protects their energy, who walks away from toxicity. You might feel guilty, even selfish, but let me tell you something, preserving your well-being is never selfish. It's responsible, it's mature, it's necessary. Mental strength also understands understanding that not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people only fit the unguarded version of you, the version without boundaries. And when you grow, when you start saying no, or when you stop showing up out of obligation, they fall away. Let them. That's not loss, it's alignment. You're making space for people who respect your limits and love you for exactly who you are, not what you offer them at your own expense. So, setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about bringing the right people closer, the ones who don't need to be convinced to respect you, the ones who understand that you can love deeply and still say, this is where I draw the line. That's what mental strength looks like. It's quiet, it's steady, and it changes everything. Don't shrink to fit, stand tall in your power. Too often we are taught to play small, to dim our light, to be less, so that others can feel comfortable. Especially when you're strong, outspoken, or ambitious, the world has a way of trying to mold you into something more digestible. But let me tell you this, you were not born to be easy to swallow. You were born to stand out, to take up space, and to own every part of who you are. Shrinking yourself for the sake of others might earn temporary approval, but it will cost you your identity. It will chip away at your spirit, one small compromise at a time. First, you downplay your achievements. Then, you mute your opinions. Before you know it, you don't recognize the reflection staring back at you. You've become a version of yourself that exists to make others feel comfortable, and in doing so, you've made yourself invisible. Standing tall in your power doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissive. It means being unapologetically whole. It's about showing up as your full self, even when it makes people uncomfortable, especially when it makes people uncomfortable. Because the discomfort they feel is not your responsibility to fix. It's their own reflection staring back at them, reminding them of what they haven't dared to be yet. There is nothing noble about shrinking. There is nothing empowering about staying quiet when you have something to say. And there is no growth in fitting into spaces that were never built for someone like you. If the room feels too small, don't fold yourself to fit. Rebuild the room or walk out and build your own. Your voice, your presence, your truth, those are not inconveniences, they are assets. When you stand tall in your power, you become a mirror for others to do the same. You give them permission to be bold, to speak loudly, to dream wildly. People may not always like it, but they will respect it. And if they don't, they were never meant to walk beside you on your path. There's a special kind of peace that comes with knowing you never betrayed yourself to be accepted, that you didn't twist your identity for someone else's comfort, that you stood in your truth even when your voice trembled. That kind of authenticity, that's rare, that's powerful, and that's what builds legacies. Not imitation, not conformity, but courage. You were not meant to blend in. You were not meant to follow someone else's script. You were meant to disrupt, to lead, to inspire, to challenge. So the next time you feel the urge to hold back, to stay small, or to hide your brilliance, don't. Breathe deep, stand taller, speak louder, be seen, not because you need approval, but because you finally realize you don't. That's the real flex, being fully, fearlessly yourself in a world that constantly tells you to be something else. And when you do that, when you stand tall in your power, you don't just change your own life. You give others the strength to rise in theirs. Choose yourself without guilt. That's a lesson many of us learn far too late after we've exhausted ourselves trying to be everything for everyone, except for ourselves. We've been conditioned to believe that selflessness is the ultimate virtue, that the more we give, the more we sacrifice, the more we put others ahead of ourselves, the more lovable or worthy we become. But here's the truth: constantly putting yourself last is not love, it's neglect. And neglecting yourself doesn't serve anyone in the long run. Choosing yourself means recognizing your own needs, honoring your boundaries, and making decisions that protect your peace. It doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop abandoning yourself in the process. And that shift, that moment when you decide that you matter too, that's where true mental strength begins. You don't have to explain or apologize for choosing yourself. You don't need a dramatic reason or a breaking point. You can choose yourself because you're tired, because you're growing, because you simply want to. That is reason enough. And anyone who tries to make you feel guilty for putting your own well-being first is someone who benefited from you putting it last. The guilt that often comes with self-prioritization isn't yours to carry. It's a product of outdated expectations. Expectations that taught us to overextend, overperform, and overgive just to feel accepted. But here's what's powerful. When you choose yourself, you break that cycle. You redefine what it means to show up. You shift from being a people pleaser to being a self-respecter, and that changes everything. Choosing yourself also means walking away from what drains you, even if it's familiar. It means ending conversations that no longer serve your growth. It means letting go of relationships where you're always giving and rarely receiving. And yes, sometimes it means disappointing people, but better to disappoint others than to betray yourself. Because every time you choose yourself, you reinforce the message that your well-being is not up for negotiation. This kind of choice isn't loud, it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as saying no when you usually say yes, turning off your phone, spending time alone, prioritizing rest, refusing to explain your healing. It's in those quiet moments that you begin to reclaim your power. Choosing yourself is also about trusting yourself. Trusting your instincts, trusting that you know what's right for you, even if others don't understand. You don't need a crowd to validate your path, you just need the courage to walk it. And here's the beautiful part: the more you choose yourself, the more you attract people, situations, and opportunities that align with the real you. Not the version you created to make others comfortable, but the raw, authentic you, the one who knows what she wants, the one who sets standards, the one who no longer waits for permission to live fully. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are simply refusing to abandon the one person you're guaranteed to live with for the rest of your life, you. So do it without guilt, do it with pride. Because the world doesn't need another self-sacrificing soul. It needs more people brave enough to honor themselves completely. Clap for yourself, even if you're the only one. That may sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful things you can learn to do. We live in a culture that thrives on validation, on applause, on likes, on praise. From an early age, we're trained to seek approval, to wait for someone else to tell us we've done a good job, to believe our progress only matters if it's seen, recognized, or rewarded. But here's the truth. Your growth still counts, even when it goes unnoticed. There will be seasons in your life when no one sees the work you're doing behind the scenes. No one will know how hard it was for you to get out of bed some mornings. No one will see the nights you cried in silence, the fears you overcame, or the effort it took just to keep going. But you will, and that's why your own applause matters most. Self-celebration is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's you acknowledging that you're evolving, even if no one else sees it yet. It's pausing in the middle of your journey, looking at how far you've come, and saying, I'm proud of me. Because if you're always waiting for external validation, you'll spend your entire life chasing approval instead of purpose. Think about it. How many times have you downplayed your own progress just because no one else acknowledged it? How often have you looked to the side, wondering if anyone noticed your efforts, only to feel discouraged when they didn't? That ends the moment you realize you don't need an audience to be proud of your path. You just need the courage to stand tall, clap for yourself, and keep moving forward. Clapping for yourself also means giving yourself credit, not just for your victories, but for your resilience, for the healing, for the boundaries you set, for the habits you broke, for the peace you're learning to protect. We spend so much time focusing on what's next that we forget to honor what we've already survived. And survival is no small feat. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over drama, saying no without guilt, loving yourself without needing a reason. Those quiet victories deserve recognition too. You don't need a crowd to affirm your worth. You don't need constant feedback to know you're making progress. Your journey is valid even in silence. Your strength is real even if no one claps for it. And your dreams are still worth pursuing, even if you're the only one who believes in them right now. Start celebrating yourself the way you show up for others. Be your own hype woman. Be your own standing ovation. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many people clapped. It's about whether you kept going without needing them to. So, stand in front of your mirror, smile at the person who's still here, still trying, still growing. Clap for her, loudly, proudly, consistently, because she deserves it, and sometimes your own applause is the one that truly echoes. Becoming mentally strong is not about building walls or hardening your heart. It's about knowing your worth, protecting your peace, and choosing yourself with unwavering confidence. It's about no longer begging for love, attention, or respect, because you understand those things should never require negotiation. When you stop chasing what should be freely given, you make space for what truly belongs to you. So clap for yourself, stand tall in your truth, set your boundaries, and never shrink to fit into places that can't hold your greatness. The strongest thing you will ever do is love yourself enough to walk away from anything that asks you to settle. Choose power, choose peace, choose you every single time.